Hallelujah! 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 Shabbat Shalom Lakim. Shabbat Shalom Lakim. Giving all praise and honor to the Holy One of Israel. Thanking Him for allowing us to even come back to hold another service before Him, even on this Holy Shabbat day. Without any further delay, let us even sing the song of Thy wondrous works will tell. Let us lift up our voices even unto the Most High, even at this time. The heavens declare it, the glory is thine, the earth and its beauty shows honor divine. Our God of creator, of everything, to Thee we lift up our voices, we will sing of God, Thy mercy Thou sendest Thy angel to show us the way. To Thee we lift our
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Baruch atah Yehovah Elohim, melech haolam, melech hachol. Anaknu po shava hazela halioshim chai Yehovah Torah rabba b'shvel chayim. We thank you for our lives this day, oh Yah, for the ability to stand before thee on another beautiful holy Shabbat day, for being with us, oh great King, and for watching over us, for granting us protection and safety, oh Yah. We thank you, oh Yah, for even being there for us, even in the times when we did not even know that it was you that was protecting us.
Amen.
We ask and pray, oh great King, that you will continue to be our rear and our forward. That you will continue to be the eyes when we cannot see, oh Yah, that ears when we cannot hear. That you will even fight for our cause when people try to destroy and tear us down. Knowing that our job is to represent you, oh Yah, in a positive light. to glorify and honor you with everything that we do, oh Yah. And we ask and we pray that you will lead us in the right way that we shall go, that you will show us the way, that we will be able to stand up and stand strong, oh Yah, that we will be able to stand strong against any adversity and anything that may come our way to destroy us. We know we need your help, oh Yah. We're not able to do it alone. We pray that you will be with us as men and as the women and as our children, oh Yah, as they grow before the old great King. We pray that you'll give them the strength that they need to even go out into this world and do great things, oh Yah. And when they do fall, because we fall many times, oh great King, we pray that you'll be there to help lift us up, that you'll be there to help us get on our feet once again, that you will give us the strength that we need to continue forward in this life that you are giving us. Knowing that we have one life to live, and we pray that you'll allow us to live it to the fullest. Praying that we'll be able to see the high places of the earth. Praying that you will be able to do the things that we would love to do that's right before the old great King. That you will create these doors of opportunity before us, oh Yah, that we can walk through these doors and even be confident with the things that you have provided for us, oh Yah. Yehovah, only to you do we give honor, and only to thy name do we glorify. For thou art a great King, highly to be praised above all. There's none compared to thee in the heaven above, nor in the earth beneath, O great King on high. And we thank you for the holy Shabbat day, that we can have this gathering, that we can come out with like minds and do what we love to do best, and that's to glorify thy name, O Lord. And we pray that you have accepted our praise and our worship before thee this day. We pray that you have accepted the words of wisdom that have been spoken this day. We thank you even for the Maftera today, even for her words of wisdom, that you continue to be with her and strengthen her, O God. We thank you for even being with our Maury Shimmerwell, that you break down the portion of our soul, O great King, that you continue to be with him. Remember his family, his Isha, and his Yaladim, O great King on our Yehovah. We need you in our life, and we ask that you will never leave us alone, knowing that we cannot do it by ourselves, knowing that we don't have the fortitude or the mental capability to do it without thy help. So that you will give us the wisdom that we need, that you will give us the discipline that we need, and that you will give us the resolve that we need, that we can always stand strong and glorify you, Yah. For thou art great and truly wonderful to thy people. And we thank you for remembering us and being there for us and for helping us, because through you, O Yah, we're able to continue to move on. Blessed be thy great, magnificent, holy, and wonderful name. Forever and ever, for thou art the King, and thou art the King alone. You have even allowed us to live this life, and we give thanks unto thy name, praying that we will be able to live to our fullest potential and do the things that you have put us on this earth to do. Blessed be thy great name, O Yah, now forevermore. Hallelujah!
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 Selah.
O Shema Yisrael, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Yahovah Yahovah Eloheinu, O Shema Yisrael. Yahovah Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Yahovah Echad. O Baruch Shekemo, Sole Olam, Sole Olam, Sole Olam, Baruch Shekemo, Sole Olam, O Shema Yisrael. Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, O Shema Yisrael. Yahovah Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Yahovah Echad. O Baruch Shekemo, Sole Olam, Sole Olam. There is no God like Yahweh. You never, come on, Israel, lift up the voice. There all Israel say amen.
The beginning of wisdom is the fear of Jehovah. Eolam wae, Eolam wae, Hallelujah! 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 Yochai! 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 Hallelujah. Before you see it, we're going to count the Omer. Before I have you sit down, just pull up on the screen about the shop, page 25. Getting closer and closer to Chag Shavuot. Hallelujah.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the sixth Shabbat, so it's going to be Shabbat Shishi. Okay? And so we're going to say the words together. What we're saying is that we're saying Anachnu Samachim La'asot et Torat Ka Yehovah Al Seferet et HaOmer. And then we're going to say Zed Shabbat Shishi. So in other words, translation, Anachnu Samachim, we are happy La'asot et Torat Ka, to do your law, Yehovah Al Seferet et HaOmer, on the numbering or on the counting. Seferet, from the word mispar, on the numbering of the Omer. That's it there? So let us say it together. Anachnu semakim la'asot et toratcha Yehovah al seferet et ha'omer ze et Shabbat shishi. Hallelujah. Please be seated. So you know that next week, next Shabbat is Shabbat Shiva, right? And what does the Torah says? That on the morrow, on the seventh Shabbat, that we would have, our one-day feast, because that's the only one-day feast that we have in our Torah, you know. Chag Shavuot is only a one-day feast. All the others like Chag Sukkot, 7 days, right? Chag Matzot, what? 7 days. So in other words, Chag Shavuot will be only a one-day feast. So on the morrow after the Shabbat, or as it says in the Hebrew, on the morrow after the seventh Shabbat, and then you'll have, your Chag Shavuot. So hopefully we are in compliance, and may the Most High continue to bless us for our efforts and our attempts. Hallelujah. This time we are going to go into our psalm service. Those psalms being the 79th Psalm, the 121st Psalm, the 124th, and we conclude with the 148th song. And at this time, let us even welcome our sister Akot Tamar to lead us in Psalms 79. Hallelujah.
I was kind of prepared. I had a feeling. Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat Shalom.
Psalm 79, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
O God, the heathen are come into thy inheritance. They have defiled thy holy temple. They have made Jerusalem into heaps.
They have given the dead bodies of thy servants to be food unto the fowls of the heavens, the flesh of thy holy ones unto the beasts of the earth.
They have shed their blood like water round about Jerusalem, with none to bury them.
We are become a taunt to our neighbors, a scorn and derision to them that are round about us.
How long, O Yah, wilt thou be angry forever? How long will thy jealousy burn like fire?
Pour out thy wrath upon the nations that know thee not, and upon the kingdoms that call not upon thy name.
For they have devoured Yaakov and laid waste his habitation.
Remember not against us the iniquities of our forefathers. Let thy compassion speedily come to meet us, for we are brought very low.
Help us, O God, of our salvation, for the sake of the glory of thy name, and deliver us, and forgive our sins for thy name's sake.
Wherefore should the nations say, where is their power? Let the avenging of thy servants' blood that is shed be made known among the nations in our sight.
Let the groaning of the prisoner come before thee, according to the greatness of thy power. Set free those that are appointed to death.
And render unto our neighbors sevenfold into their bosom their reproach wherewith they have reproached thee, O Yah.
So we that are thy people and the flock of thy pasture will give thee thanks forever.
Amen.
We will tell of thy praise to all generations.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. It's always a pleasure to be here amongst you all. This morning, my spirit was, a little shaky. I was like, am I gonna go? It was, that rain was looking like it was coming. So I was like, let me get back in this bed. But then my girl was like, oh no, Ema, let's go to the camp. So all praises to the mighty Yah for giving me that strength and putting that spirit on them to give me that boost that I needed to be here. And I'm happy to be here. My spirit is rejuvenated.
Hallelujah. Amen.
And I pray that all is well with everyone. My message would clearly be, whenever you're having some issues, find that person that you can call upon. Of course, call upon the Creator first. But if you have that one person or a group of people that you can call upon to pray over you, pray with you, please do that. Because we all need that to get through these days. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. For that message, Koti, speak up. At this time, let us even continue. Let us call upon one of our Bakorim in our midst, even Bakor Eliyahu Ben Misharet Yaakov, to lead us in Psalms 121. Hallelujah. We give him a tanakh, B'vakasha.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah. I'll lift up mine eyes to the mountains. From when shall my help come?
My help coming from Yehovah, who made heaven and earth.
Who will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber.
Behold, he that keepeth Israel does neither slumber nor sleep.
The Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand.
The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night.
The Lord shall keep thee from all evil, he shall keep thy soul.
Jehovah shall guard thy going out, and thy coming in, from this time forth and forever.
Well, today after that I'm alive, and I have a family, and I can wake up this morning and for letting me go to school.
Hallelujah.
And for letting it be the last day of school.
Continuing Psalms 124. Let us even welcome one of our Bakorot in our midst, Bakora and Naya Bat Akim Yahweh Nafta. Hallelujah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
If it had not been Yah who for us, let Yisrael not say.
If it had not been Yehovah who was for us, when men rose up against us,
Then they had swallowed up us up alive when their wrath was kindled against us.
then the waters had overwhelmed us, the stream had gone over our soul.
Then the proud waters have gone over our soul.
Blessed be Yehovah, who hath not given us as a prey to their teeth.
Our soul is escaped as a bird out of the snare of the fowlers. The snare is broken and we are escaped.
Our hope is in the name of Yehovah, who made heaven and earth.
I like to say Toda Yah for allowing me to wake up this morning and allow me to be here today.
Amen.
Toda Yah for all of you.
Amen.
And Toda Yah for allowing me to go to the 7th grade.
Hallelujah. Amen. Okay. Last but certainly not least, let's welcome another one of our Bakor Reem in our midst. Bakor Malkiel ben Uzziah to lead us in Psalm 148. And let's hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shabbat Shalom.
Praise ye the Lord from the heavens, praise him in the heights.
Praise ye him all his angels, praise ye him all his hosts.
Praise him, sun and moon, praise him, all ye stars of light.
Praise him, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters that are above the heavens.
Let them praise the name of the Lord, and he commanded and they were created.
He hath also established them forever and ever. He hath made a decree which shall not be transgressed.
Praise Jehovah from the earth, ye sea monsters and all deeps.
Fire and hail, snow and vapor, stormy wind fulfilling his words.
Mountains and all hills, fruitful trees and all cedars.
Beasts and all cattle, creeping things and winged fowl.
Kings of the earth and all judges, princes and all judges of the earth.
Both young men and maidens, old men and children.
Let them praise the name of the Yehovah, for his name alone is exalted. His glory is above the earth and the heaven.
And he hath lifted up a horn for his people, a praise for all his holy ones, even for the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Hallelujah.
Toda Yah from congregation, allowing me to go to Chester and coming back safely.
Hallelujah.
To see the family over there and just for all things and everything. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. We give our thanks to the Holy One of Israel for all of our psalmists today. As you can see, most of them were the young children today. And Atidenu, our future. And thanking the Creator for their lives because they matter in our lives. And we have to always, give them that push and encouragement, so that they can grow up to be men and women of valor, men and women of principles, and just wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that Yah would even place on them. And thanking the Creator from this particular vantage point for even being with our children, allowing them to have a safe school year. Now that school is out, yesterday was the last day of school, and we pray that the Holy One of Israel will not only be with them or us during the school year, but that the summer months are coming. May He bless us to have a wonderful summer, that no tragedies, no calamities will fall upon us, because we know that anything can happen at any time, anywhere. And so we hope and pray that the Most High would be with us and safeguard us throughout these summer months, and that they would come back to school, and Yah be with them and be with us, those that are at work, because we have to go out too and earn, make a living and things like that. And so we pray that Yah would just be with us and safeguard us in all that we do. Hallelujah. At this time, we're going to have a question and answer period. Anyone can ask a question. Anyone can answer a question. We just ask that in the event of a controversy, we don't know what that is, right?
Not at all.
We don't know what controversy is. But in the event of a controversy, that we ask that it will remain or it will stop here at the Mizbeach Tefillah, the altar of prayer, not because we know more, but because this is the place of order, even in this particular building, this binyan, this place, this cultural center here at Hashabi Yisrael, the Hebrew family of Charlotte. So at this time, the question and answer period is now open. And you can ask any question on the Sidra, on the Haftarah. Both were done excellently by Morey, Coach Shakira. They did a wonderful job. But if you have any questions, we understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. And also, because of the fact that Shavuot is approaching, you might have any questions on Chag Shavuot, okay? We do bring out our wave loaves on Chag Shavuot here in the Hebrew family of Charlotte. The only thing that we ask is that you make them in a small amount so that, you know, it won't be so big, you know, and we try to get rid of it. But a nice size amount, small loaves, we're asking Bavakasha. I know some of you probably can't do that based on your ingredients, but we're trying to just kind of minimize, you know, the lechem or the bread that we have so we can get rid of it properly. So just small loaves, we're asking 2 out of your household, Bavakasha, all right? You know, that's the rules for the Chag Shavuot. Anything that I'm missing, Kohanim, Morim, Sar, please, explain it to the community so that we'll know. And we know that next Yom Rishon is our feast day. That's it. Okay, so question and answer period is officially open.
You can find it on Etsy. This one.
No questions?
You can buy it.
Oh, okay, Akanadia. Shabbat Shalom Laka.
Can you could bring 2 cakes as well? Can you bring 2 cakes or just the regular bread?
Okay.
Because I know some communities they're going to just the bread, but can you bring 2 cakes?
If you made the cakes, in other words, I don't see nothing wrong with it, not unless something has changed in the last couple of years. So I believe that that's okay. As well, as long as it's homemade and not store-bought. Of course, the bread has to be homemade, you know, by your hands and not store-bought. So we're not looking for Walmart or any Krispy Kreme donuts, anything like that, you know, to come. That's it there. So that's what we're looking for. By your own hands, that you will make these bread or cakes.
Okay.
At least take it out of the package.
Okay, Albert Kirby, I saw your hand.
Yes. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. He's coming around with the mic for you. I
Um,
want to thank El Yafe for his hard work running around, giving people the mic all the time. So, that's our young Levite right there. He's in training. This is his apprenticeship right now.
we spoke about Samson this morning.
Yes, sir.
What made him so weak to tell the lady to cut off his hair? Did she sway him for the woman?
What made, Albert Kirby wants to know, what made Samson or Shimshon weak to allow himself to tell Delilah, you know, his secret or whatever, right? Is that what you're saying? His weakness, right? Anybody want to take a stab at that? Saul got his hand over. Saul got his hand over.
Seduction and nagging.
Seduction and nagging.
Oh, there you go. Like a bro.
Anybody else? Okay, Bapora Naomi has an answer. Uh-oh.
Oh, let me please.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, bro.
I feel like he did it because he really loved her, so he didn't want her to feel bad.
Okay, all right.
Seduction and nagging is nice.
When you think about it, when you read that story, it was more what Saul was saying nagging, because she kept asking. He was like, all right already, you know, like one of those things, like this is what it is, you know. So, you know, in other words, right, get off my back. I'll just tell you, you know. And that happens in some relationships, all right? I'm not trying to stir up no trouble, but sometimes that happens, all right? Any other questions? Yes, sir. Okay, Albert.
Shabbat Shalom. Did he know he was going to die?
Did he know he was going to die that day? In terms of, you talking about that particular day when he was, when they had him tied up and everything like that? Okay, fine. I won't answer. I'll let somebody else answer. I have my answer.
Yeah.
Zaquin, I know.
Oh, okay,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Zaquin. I know you know the answer to that.
When you figured after she cut his hair, because remember he was a Nazarite, he was never supposed to have his hair cut. After she cut his hair, he knew something was going to happen after they put his eyes out. See, because now he can't see. So he thought it was the end, but then the Most High gave him one more chance.
And they say that he took out more Philistines at the day of his death than at any time of his life. When he died that day, he took out more Philistines than he ever did. I have a question. What does Shemshon mean? Think about the Hebrew words. Shem, Sham, Shem, Shom, Shem, Sham, Shem, Sham. You break up those words. What's the word for Shem? Sham. He was named there. So wherever they were, you know how we are, right? We'll name our children according to certain things in certain places, you know, things that were going on in their life. That's how they do it. Same people. Any other questions?
I wanted to just point out,
Okay, Michelle.
there is a verse that says what his last words were. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Let's wait for the mic, Michelle, so we can hear you loud and clear. Toda.
Shimshon's last words, Shabbat shalom. Shimshon does record his last words. It says in Judges Shoftim, chapter 16, verse 30, V'yomer Shimshon tamot nafshi in Pelishtim. Right? So, let my soul die with these Philistines. And then he stretches out his arms. So he knows this is,
He knows this is it.
a zero-sum game.
Okay. Toda Rabba, Michelle. Any other questions? Mine on the Sidra, a hot tub. Moray did an excellent job. Shakira, you did an excellent job.
Okay.
Sit there. Press it there. Question and answer period is officially closed. Hallelujah. Come on, brother.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. This question is kind of directed towards Shakira's, my peer's portion. I just wanted her to kind of go over a little bit about how do you do a vow. I think Maury touched on it as well. Like, how do you do a vow? Can you just look in the mirror and make a vow? How is a vow actually made, and what are some of the components of a vow?
Okay, good question.
Well, I guess anyone can answer it, but she mentioned it, you mentioned it.
You want to go first? Or you want to take Amy's hand first, Gary? All right, Amy Rishon.
Shabbat shalom.
Okay, Shabbat shalom.
A vow cannot be made looking in the mirror. I think it has to be brought before the elders or the priests.
Good counseling.
Counsel, yeah. And then you can make a vow. I think they have to okay it, right?
Anybody else want to touch on that? Saul? Shabbat shalom. Anybody can answer a question.
Sneaker, I gotta get used to this. I think anybody can make a vow at any time, especially if it's between you and the Creator. Now, when you talk about the vow of a Nazarite, then you have to have these particular, there's a litany of things that need to be done. It has to be done with witnesses. They have to counsel you and what have you. So that's the vow for a Nazarite. But a vow just to say I'm not going to do something or I'm going to do it can just between you and the Creator. And He's going to hold you accountable. Nobody else has to even know about it. That's what I think is the answer to the question. Toda.
Okay. Wait, hold on a second. Let me get some new folks. Okay. The rest of Shana. Shabbat shalom.
I agree with that because we were just talking about, because if a daughter made a vow and the day that her father would hear about it, or a woman made a vow and the day that her husband hear about it, so you wouldn't maybe have gotten counseling before that. You made some vow and they heard it and this and this and that.
All I'm saying is that's my recommendation when you do that. You know, that's not necessarily the case with everyone, but that would be my recommendation to get counseling. Okay. I'm going to take Pepsi Boston. Shabbat Shalom. Is this a new question or you?
It was just about the vow.
Okay.
When I was 16, a sister of mine, a spiritual sister of mine, she wanted me to be her child's godmother. And between her and I said yes. And then when I got home, I was so happy, and I told my Abba, and he said, no, you can't be the child's godparent because you're too young. Because, you know, I wasn't there for that vow. So I agree with Star Aharon and Cousin Shoshana, you have to have adults around or counsel, like you said.
That's it, I'll take one more hand and then we'll end it out. Okay, I'm going to take, since you have one chance, I'm going to give you Carl a chance to go your car.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So the vows that we're talking about as far as what's written in the Tanakh, do those same standards apply for the vows that you say when you get married? That's part one of the question. And then the other one is, I know that we say, we hear those vows during like a wedding ceremony, but the kids don't necessarily always hear them. So at some point, can we kind of talk about what we do say in a ceremony and what those vows mean?
Okay, 2 parts. Anybody else want to?
You said it.
Okay, Moray.
Shabbat Shalom Nikem.
Shabbat Shalom.
Dealing with the vows at the wedding ceremony, one of the things that has happened over the years is that, you know, weddings have become, you know, it's very expensive to hold a wedding, but back in the day, you know, the wedding was a family affair, and you know, you had all generations with you. You didn't have to cater for a plate. You know, at least back in Guyana, the family used to come together and ensure that everyone was fed. You know, it was not a catered situation like that. So the Yeladim were exposed to that whole process, and it was beautiful for them to see that rites of passage. But in today's scenario, you know, it's expensive to have one person with their 20 children coming to the wedding, etc. So they miss out on that. But that is a very important aspect in the life of a child, for them to see the end result of, you know, the courtship, etc. they may have been seeing over the years, and the vows that would be exchanged, for them to understand it, for them to, you know, to respect it. Many times people don't really, you know, it's just a ceremony. A lot of people there, you just say these words, but you don't sit and think about you vowing before the Creator that this is what you're going to do. You know, and in the heat of the moment, you make errors and you fail. You know, you don't respect the vows, but it's very serious. And it's a very good point for the children. As these ages, you know, you grow, you learn. So by the time you get there, you would, you know, be full understanding and in respect for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good point.
Okay. Absolutely, very good question.
That was the second part?
Yeah, that's good. And the second part, I mean, we have to just devote some time in the afternoon, perhaps, to just go over, you know, certain things in the Siddur, which I had planned on doing, because there are songs that I want us to understand what we're singing, how we're singing it, and also that can be a part of it as well, Yivkara, to go through that ceremony, especially the Hebrew part, so that they can know what's being said and the translation and the meaning and things like that. So I have planned on doing that very soon. Yes, it did? Okay. We're going to close the question and answer period. We got to move on.
Read this about vows.
Sure. Let's end it up.
This is in Deuteronomy 23, the 22nd. When thou shalt vow a vow unto Yahweh thy power, thou shalt not be slack to pay it. For Yahweh thy power will surely require it of thee, and it will be sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, there shall be no sin in thee. That which is gone out of thy lips, thou shalt observe and do, according as thou hast vowed freely unto Yahweh thy power, even that which thou hast promised with thy mouth.
Okay. So that's pretty much what Saul was saying. That's between you and the Creator. If you do not hold fast by what you say, what comes out of your mouth, then Yahweh is going to hold you accountable for that. So the question and answer period is officially closed. Toda Abba for your participation. If you would stand before y'all, let us sing a song before we go into our next segment of Akashah. Let us sing this song. Baruch Hashem. Let us bless the name of the Most High, even at this time. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Blessed be the name of Yahuwah. Blessed be the name of Yahuwah. Blessed be the name of Yahuwah. Blessed be the name, blessed be the name of Yahuwah. No day like it, oh my God. No day like it, oh my God. No day like it, oh my God. No day like it, no day like it, oh my God. He gives us bread and our water too. He gives us bread and our water too. He gives us bread and our water too. He gives us bread, he gives us bread and our water too. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. When I wake up in the morning, I've got to praise God's name. When I wake up in the morning, I teach my kids to do the same. Jehovah's great, He's also great. I've got to praise His name, I just can't wait. Jehovah is King, Jehovah is King of heaven and earth. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. There is no God like Jehovah again. There is no God like Jehovah our King. There is no God, no like Jehovah our King. There is no God like Jehovah our King. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem Shel Yahuwah. Hallelujah. Please be seated. We're going to go into some current events at this time. That's Sar's segment. My segment is called Did You Know? I don't want to take Sar's segment away. Let him have his own thing. He's got what's going on. I have Did You Know? All right. Just a couple of things. And I have some footage here. I want you to see what's going on.
What's going on?
I want y'all to know, did you know? Go ahead, I just need my glasses. I'm sorry. I'm about to shut up. Wish we find a bag right there. No, not sorry. I'm not ready for his yet. The first item on my current events, did you know? So y'all all heard about the Smoothie King racism, right? I knew I didn't like them for a reason. Smoothie King. The receipts that one patron got a receipt. It was written with the N-word on it. And then there was one, that was the one that had the N-word on it. And then the next one, an Asian man had Jackie Chan written on the receipt. So now, Smoothie King had to close down a couple of their locations so that they can receive, what's that training that they call? Sensitivity training. But I mean, come on now. I mean, you walk in, I see your hand, Koti. You walk in and you ordering a smoothie and, you know, did you ask what my name was? You understand? You just put on there the N-word. I mean, you see how this country, I mean, the Most High, he got to have our back in these days and times. Okay, no, Koti, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Shabbat shalom, bro.
I think we see a lot of this more frequently with hotels and,
well, that's going to be my next one.
all kinds of organizations. But I think it's when you're deciding if you're going to patronize these places anymore, it's important to think about the response.
Exactly.
And the company responded very swiftly. Within hours of it surfacing on social media, they immediately denounced it soundly. Whereas with Starbucks or with Staples or with these hotels, they're kind of just like, we're sorry that you were offended. So in this case, I think I would still continue to patronize Smoothie King because at least they responded to it immediately and substantially and not just like, I'm sorry I felt offended. So.
Yeah, I just don't like their smoothies. I think I'll make a mean smoothie myself. I'm the Smoothie King. But good point, Leah, and they did respond swiftly. I saw that. But this is what, this is the day and age that we're living in now. So, we just have to be careful.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom. They said violence and racism has gone up 226% since this new administration. And it all starts at the top. And that's the only trickle-down effect you're going to have.
45.
When they say trickle-down economics, that don't work. But the trickle-down racism, that works every time.
Right, okay, so that's fine. Next item on, did you know? So, speaking on racism, there was a black hotel employee who was called the N-word and refused to give the woman a room in the hotel. Did you hear about that? Moray, Abakasha?
But you called me
My mother died.
I understand that, but you called me
I'm sorry.
You weren't sorry when you said it on the phone.
Listen, there was
no,
people screaming.
but at the end of the day, and the climate that we live in today's society,
I'm sorry.
I understand that, but it's above me now.
Never mind.
Well, there's the Best Western next door.
Oh, please, let me hear. My daughter's here.
I'm sorry, but I mean, I was on the phone when you said it.
I said, I'm sorry. Please, I've had a horrible day.
And I had a horrible time when hearing that. It's above me. She called me a
Sir, my grandma just died.
I understand that, but it's above me.
Please let me.
It's above me. Sorry. The Best Western is next door.
Sir, the rest of our family
I understand that, but it's above me.
Please. I
apologize. She said what she said.
I was glad that he was very calm and very calm and polite about it, but told Aya that there are some companies and they look at this stuff as being low toll, not a good thing. And so he said it was above me because he got word from his higher up, his bosses and everything, and then his bosses told him, do not give her a room. And she had a family, most of her family was in that hotel. And he was like, sorry, the Best Western is next door. I don't blame him. I give him kudos for that. Most High, he's gonna have our backs no matter what. Go next door to the Best Western, and I'm sorry. You know, everybody always say they sorry after the fact. After you offend me, now you sorry, but you wasn't sorry like you said when you called me that. You meant every word of that. If you would have came in and I wouldn't have said anything, you would have walked in and you probably would have called me another one. I'm sure she did to the Best Western. But Torah, like I said, he's gonna have our backs. You see what's going on in the world? Did you know? And what's going on? All right. I'm sure you all seen and many of us take cruises all the time. The Norwegian cruise ship that crashed, that had an accident in Venice, Italy. Could Moray show that? Just think, a lot of us going on
in Venice, Italy, is leading to new calls to ban giant cruise ships from the area. Take a look at this. It was the chaotic scene yesterday when a cruise ship lost control, crashing into a riverboat and a crowded dock. 5 people were hurt in that accident. Seth Doan is at the canal in Venice where the accident happened. Seth, how are people locally reacting?
Good morning, Tony. Many people are saying enough is enough. This has really reignited this controversy that's been going on here for years in Venice, where we've heard many residents and activists saying these ships are simply too big for this fragile city. The massive ship just would not stop. On the dock, people fled as the towering 13-deck-high vessel, its horn blaring, grinded into a much smaller boat and the side of the pier.
How the hell does that happen?
News which holds more than 2,600 people had reported mechanical difficulties as it came into port Sunday morning.
Like, you know, Jurassic Park? Yeah. Seen that one?
The tugboats trying to guide it in safety were not strong enough.
Just to see this thing out of control was just, it was almost literally unbelievable.
5 people were injured Sunday, while many in Venice feel the city itself was already wounded by these ships. Protests sparked immediately.
It worries me because it's something that could have happened so many other times and could happen again today.
Jane DeMasto is an environmental scientist who heads We're Here Venice, which wants to ban cruise ships. She worries they endanger...
I think that's good enough. See that? But, you know, if it's not for the Holy One of Israel, because, I mean, come on. I've been on cruise, you know, multiple times. I mean, many of you are getting ready to get on one. So you just have to, you know, have the Creator in your life and just, you know, hope and pray that Yah's mercies are with us when we take these trips and we're on these cruise ships. So, but these things can happen. And you can see clearly that Yah's hand is heavy upon this earth. This is a sad... Sneak out? Okay. If you have any car windows open, it looks like it's gonna pour rain. Next on the agenda, I have another item. This is a sad story. I'm sure many of you have heard about the black couple from Maryland who were found dead in the Dominican Republic resort. You hear about that? And Maury, did I have something for that? Was that a video?
No video.
No video. I just wanted you to show. I wanted you to see the couple. It was a sad thing. And then they say that there was a woman that had died before at the same resort. Am I right?
Yeah.
So what's going on with the Dominican Republic resort? Carbon monoxide? From the bar? The mini bar.
The mini bar.
See? I mean, how many of us have been to Dominican Republic? We got stuck there. We could have been, you know what I mean? We had to check into a La Cacata hotel, right? 6 water, we saw a waterbed. You hear me? I was saying, waterbeds? Oh, wow! Man, that was some experience, boy. Well, yes, we was at the hotel. We couldn't sleep because they were arguing, the Mexicans, because we were on buddy passes, we know better. So of course we had to, you know, stay overnight, and it was something, boy. The taxi cab, the taxi ride over to the hotel, we had our bags on our seats and in a little small car like we a bunch of clowns. You know how the clowns come out of one small car? It was crazy. Okay. And then, another Dominican Republic resort, a woman, a Lavan woman, she was horrifically beaten at a Dominican Republic resort. She claims it was by a staff member. All right? Listen to this. What is going on? So when you're going on vacation, especially the women, you know, because, you know, a lot of times you
claiming she was brutally attacked in the Dominican Republic at a popular resort. Tammy Lawrence Daly says she was badly beaten at that resort while on vacation with her husband earlier this year. She says she was walking alone and suddenly was dragged into a maintenance room. Here's ABC's Gio Benitez.
It was supposed to be a dream getaway to an all-inclusive resort in the Dominican Republic, but tonight, Tammy Lawrence Daly is speaking out after a brutal attack, hoping to protect other women. She, her husband, and 2 friends were at the Majestic Elegance Resort in Punta Cana in January, when she says she went out alone for a late-night snack and claims she was attacked by a man wearing a resort uniform.
He just plowed into my back. And I just remember that grunt that he made when he hit me. It's like in my nightmares. He, at that point, started choking me, strangling me.
She says the attacker dragged her into a maintenance room, then down into a basement, where she says he left her for dead.
All I could think of was that my husband was going to find me dead with my head bashed in.
Tammy says she was discovered 8 hours later. Tonight, she has this message.
It's not safe. It's not safe for women to be alone, to walk alone. You have to walk with somebody else.
And David, police say they are
Really? I mean, come on. Last but certainly not least on my agenda, I thought this was a little funny. I thought you might get a kick out of it, but there was a panic attack on a New York City train station. Now y'all know New York City rush hour, you know.
Oh, there's somebody standing.
That's something for some of us that come from New York City. Those of y'all who born down here, that's nothing new. Trust me, that is nothing new. And you know how we are as a people. Hold on a second. Shh. You know how we are. Somebody say, what is it? And somebody put up their leg. Everybody start putting up their leg. You haven't seen anything yet. And you know the hustle and bustle, and you know, I guess you just wanted to be a part of the rat race. Somebody was supposed to say, boom-psh. But that's my news, that's my did you know for the week. Hallelujah. We're going to sing a song, we're going to bring up the song. Hallelujah. Anybody else have, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. That was a small rat. Them rats come bigger than that.
Yeah, that was kind of small in comparison to what I seen.
I just wanted to add to your, did you know?
Yes, get it right. Did you know?
I just got towards the end of the story, but I'm thinking that it was a black sheriff who went to K. Jewelers to pick up West Green.
Yes, I heard about that.
And they would not let him in.
Right.
Because he was in uniform and he had a
With his
pistol.
revolver, yeah.
And they would not let him in, and so he put his pistol away.
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
I think that was.
They fired that.
They fired that manager because he's not supposed to take off his revolver. He was on duty, so he's not
Yes, he was
supposed to
on
take
duty.
off. And they fired him. They fired the manager of the jewelry. Yeah, I heard about that. So that. All right, so that about these things.
That is too much. Like he got full uniform on. Like, come on.
They say that.
Right. For real. That is ridiculous.
You know, years ago, when I was younger, and I always used to hear my father do current events, and he always used to say that an informed people is a free people. And so when you're informed, then you are, you know, basically free, so that you know what's going on and you know your surroundings. So an informed people is a free people. Okay, and that's why we bring these current events to you, so that you know, just in case you missed it, then you know, here's something for you to think about. And perhaps maybe I've missed something that you may have known. Bring it out to the forefront so that we can all be aware of what's going on. So let's sing about the land of our forefathers, the land of Israel, Jerusalem, on page 2 in our songbook. By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. One more thing I have to do. I must apologize to all of the parents and the youth, because I said that there was going to be a blockbuster for Joshua chapters 1 through 10, and that was my mistake. It was supposed to be 1 Samuel's that they've been studying and reading, so I apologize for that. I was going too fast, and you know, I didn't want to do that to them, especially if they haven't been reading Joshua. They've been reading 1 Samuel, so I'll get you next time on 1 Samuel chapters 1 through 10, all right? So my apologies, all right? Please accept my apologies. Hallelujah. Let us welcome the Naso Afternoon. Hallelujah.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Please be seated. And all praises, honor, glory to you. Yes, thanking him for my life, the lives of all of you. How's the day going so far?
Awesome.
Excellent. Took a couple of my segments away from me. But we're going to get some things going on today. We'll keep y'all busy. First, I want to give y'all some information, just so you all know. How many of you remember Ima Kalia? One of our original elders. We finally found her. You know, she had a stroke a few years ago, and we lost contact with her. So I spoke with her 2 days ago. Hallelujah. She had lost her phone, and she didn't have it charged. So I said, please, Ima, keep your phone charged and don't lose it. I had a really nice conversation with her. Anyone who wants her number, I will share it with you. She's answers a little slow, but she's got her wits about her. She's doing very well, I would say. I'm hoping to visit her soon. She's in Hampton, Virginia, and I'm hoping to plan a trip up there in the next few months. What else can I tell you? She said that she's skin and bone. She lost a lot of weight. She's very health conscious now. I think she's a vegetarian. And she's very strict, said don't eat anything out of a can. So she's still feisty.
Oh boy.
Wow. Fancy, close my glass. Trying to take over Africa. They have to fire out. Yeah, put that one back in the fridge for me, please. Hold on. So, I just wanted to give that information. I called Ima Hevinia and gave her her number. We were all elders together in the first, the beginning of our days here in Charlotte. And she was short, but she was no joke. So I'm very, very happy to know that we have found her. She's doing well. And my goal, Yah willing, is to see her soon. I just wanted you all to know that. I also had a conversation with Kohen Mikhail yesterday. Kohen Mikhail sends his love and shalom to everyone. We had a really nice conversation, talked about many things. And it wasn't until after I got off the phone that I got this copy of a video that he put out. And I'd like to show that to the community. It's in response to the situation that went on up in New York. Well, it started in D.C. with the brothers there that were harassing the Catholics and back and forth thing that had going on. You're going to see that particular video, part of it, as well as the response from Morey Catriel in the Bronx, and then Kohen Mikhail's response to all of it. So you have that ready? I want to dim the lights a little bit because it's a little hard to see from the back. So can you drop the back lights, please?
Ready?
Okay, go ahead.
Black Hebrew Israelites are described as a black nationalist hate group with militant overtones. They believe blacks are the true descendants of the biblical Israelites, and many of their sects are anti-white. Many here on the East Coast pretty familiar with the group, who dress up in robes and preach their teachings on street corners.
This is basically slanted. We don't know why they responded in the way they did.
You just giving me one side of the story, so.
Okay. Is it okay to disparage other ethnicities in the Black Israelite group?
Well, you keep calling it a group. Every nation has, it's not religious, it's nationality.
Okay, is your nationality okay with disparaging other racial groups?
No, not at all.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you said that.
Yes.
Is there a problem right now with the Black Israelites? Are they angry at something specific? What's the beef?
Well, from my perspective, we've been in captivity for 400 years. We've been denied our heritage, our land, what rightfully belongs to us as a people. We've been here for 400 years. We've had miseducation in regards to what belongs to us nationally or ethnically as services to this country.
So what belongs to you specifically?
Specifically, what belongs to us is the land.
In America?
No.
In Israel?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you here are in America, and you want the land in Israel to be given back to you?
Absolutely.
Because you believe it's rightfully yours?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you probably have to fight with the Palestinians over that?
Well, it's a
because
fight.
they think it's theirs too.
So a lot of people think it's theirs, but prophecy says the children of Israel will return to their land from the scattered places that we've been scattered.
Okay. Your group has been called a hate group?
Well, you keep saying my group. The children of Israel came over here in slave ships, and we're in churches, we're in mosques, we're in various religious doctrines that have been perpetrated on us as a captive slave body of people. And this process of awakening to know who we are, our roots are, has taken on many factions. And basically, they've been formulated into religious concepts where ethnically, nationally, we're descendants by our seed, by heritage, by birth.
Okay.
I just want to make a point, an observation. Do you notice how he has him sitting lower than the other guy is? They're supposed to be on the same level when they do an interview like this. I'm just bringing that out because it's a position of power that he's put himself in, and he's attacking him at every turn. That's just an observation I'm making.
Nation of Israel.
All right, so in general, not talking about Covington right now, but in general, do you have a problem with white Americans wearing Make America Great Again hats?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Well, that incident highlighted what the problem is with America today, because you have Native Americans who are speaking out in regards to what transpired with them. And what transpired with them? They were pushed on reservations, they lost their lands. Then you have the Israelite group, who we were brought here by slavery, forced against our will, and given doctrines that don't even belong to us. And we've lost everything. And then you have the Christian school that was there, and they have a right to speak as well.
Okay. I do think some of your members are giving you guys a bad name. Let's just watch some recordings of some of the language that you guys have been using. Roll the tape.
Y'all are going into slavery for enslaving so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Anytime anybody hears about the Black Israelites, that's what they think of. Now, I know you're saying that, they don't speak for everybody, but they actually do.
It's my pleasure to respond to the footage that we've just seen with my brother Amore Catriel, responding to the fact that all Israelites are not of the image that has been shown in the footage. And it seems to be the practice of the media to try to discredit Israelites around the world by always portraying us in the images of thugs or gangs or people of violence. And this is just not the case. First of all, we need to realize that Israelites have been a people that have existed for hundreds of years, even thousands of years. For hundreds of years, the Beta Yisrael in the Gondar district of Ethiopia have lived there, and they have never been viewed as or portrayed as thugs or gangsters or anything of the such. In fact, they have an intact priesthood. that is going back thousands of years to the time of King David and King Solomon. You also have the community of Israelites under the late Ben-Ami that went into the land of Israel, and now thousands of them reside in the land of Israel. They've lived there for over 50 years. They're part of the fabric of the society. Many of the youth even serve in the military in the land of Israel, have been there for 50 years. Our youth there, even their children and grandchildren, speak Hebrew fluently, and they've lived in the land of Israel. Never do we hear of them being portrayed as thugs or gangsters or people of violence. They are there in the land, and they live there amongst the Israelis. They go to school in Israel. They speak Hebrew, as I've said. They're entertained, and they've represented the country of Israel going around the world, again, in the area of entertainment and in other fields, sports as well. That's not the image that's shown. What about the Abiyadea that's in Uganda? They too have known that they're Israelites, and they're there. Anyone can investigate. They're not of the image of those on 25th Street or anywhere in the states that might be on the corners. And again, some of those young men that are there, they're there because they're like many of the young people, frustrated of the injustices, and so they're expressing it. But that's not perhaps the best way to do it. But don't try to label all Israelites. What about the Israelites that are in the Caribbean, all in Jamaica or in Guyana? Communities that, again, keep the Torah, way of life. They also keep Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. They study the Hebrew language. They practice and they wear their culture and dress, and they have divine dress styles, even lauded by the Israeli government. They take tours into Dimona every day, displaying and showing other Europeans that visit the Holy Land, the community of Israelites that are living there, marveling at this very interesting sight. This is something that many black people don't want to acknowledge, but that's one of the things that Jewish people say to us all the time. Very interesting. Do your mother know that she's an Israelite? Yes, she does. Very interesting. Does your father know? Yes, very interesting. It's always very interesting to them, but the world doesn't know that, hey, they know that we're not all thugs. They know that we're living right there in Israel with them as citizens of integrity, men and women of virtue. And let's make this clear. What nationality, what nation of people, what ethnic group don't have thieves, liars, murderers? So when we speak about being Israelites, we're not a religion, but just like any other people on earth, we have people of integrity, we have people of high esteem, and we also have low esteem and criminals, just like in any other European country or any other African, Asiatic country, South American country. So let's not label Israelites as a people by the acts of a few people. That's unfair to others, it's unfair to us as well. So when you interview Israelites, that you see them in the street, just remember, that's only one particular group of people. It's not a label, and don't paint the whole nation of Israel with that brush. It's unfair to us, just as it would be unfair to any other nation of people. Thank you very much.
So there you have it. They are very, very keen in what they do. We have to be careful. That's why the brother I think, should not have gone on there without counsel, because you're dealing with Fox. First of all, you're dealing with Fox News. That right there tells you it's slanted. And on to the right, I mean, CNN is slanted to the left. I mean, they're liberal. But when you're going to go in the lion's den like that, you need to be well prepared. That's right. And I don't believe he was. He did the best he could, but he left out a lot. And keep in mind, I don't know Catrio very well, but he's not. I lived in New York for many years. I almost never saw him. He didn't travel around to different places, and he's pretty much stayed up in the Bronx. And And the thing is, he didn't really, I don't believe he knows what's going on in Israelite communities around New York, as not to mention around the world. And so I think that, you know, I don't know how much he knows, but I know he's not an ignorant person. He's a bright guy, but it's just that if you're not out there to a certain degree, it's kind of hard to be able to represent the wider scope of Israel, you know, just by the things you hear. Okay, did I see a hand? Okay. Okay, I keep paying.
Shabbat Shalom. Sorry for sharing. It reminds me of, I read an article earlier this week after the documentary came out of When They See Us about the Central Park 5, those young men who was falsely accused. Right after that happened, you know, Jacqueline tells all the time about the ad that Donald Trump put out there in the newspaper trying to enforce the death penalty. But right after that happened, there was an author, a gentleman by the name of, I want to say John Leo Jr. He wrote an article basically stating the coming of the super predators. And the image he was trying to portray is that every time you see a black or brown young man, they are a threat. And you see the same thing with the video, that they was trying to portray a certain type of image when it came to our people. And it's a attack that the media has done even since slavery, you know, when they used to post different ads up and things of that nature, acting like we were truly the threat, where we were the victims a lot of times. And it just shows how this country, how they will play a trick on your mind if you're not educated and if you're not aware of what's going on. So I thank you for taking the time to share this. And I think it's important for all of us to know that they can't couple all of us into that same group. Just like with that European man that was given an interview, we don't want to couple all of them as far as being representatives of white supremacy or sharing the views of the KKK, you know, because it's just not fair when you try to put everybody and say that's who they are. And it's just a shame. It's what we deal with in this country. So I just really ask that, you know, when we are out and about, that we do have a upright representation, so others can see that everybody is not like what they try to portray in the media.
I agree with you 100%. I do believe. Do I have this done right? Because I can't hear myself.
You have to point it towards your mouth.
Can you hear me now? How's that? All right. I'm gonna have to get me one of those fancy mics. Anyway, I'm gonna take the next hand. I just want to say that you know, it's very important. You know, I don't think that integration was such a great thing, but it did provide some education for some of us that at least it helps us to understand how to deal with our adversaries. And they can be bourgeois black people, or they can be of another color. But what I would say is that you got to look at the character of every people. I don't care what color they are. You know, we have our stereotypes that in some cases might be accurate, but not in all cases. And so the best thing that we can do is to, like Yemiyahu said, live in an upright manner, have upright character, and eventually people will learn to judge you by your character. They may initially be prejudiced, that means they're prejudging you just on the color of your skin. We prejudge them just on the color of their skin. And so we have to get to a point where we understand that the best thing we can do is to learn people's character before we make the same mistake they make against us. I was having a robust and interesting conversation in the Mishra today, and I told the story well, I'll give you just part of the story of how I got down here. And my journey down here was at the suggestion of a Lavon friend. That's how I ended up in North Carolina, and many of you, through that process, ended up down here. You know, we have to really focus on ourselves and not on anybody else in terms of how we live and how we intend to get respect from anybody. Because there's no doubt that we are killing ourselves, each other, more than they're killing us.
That's right.
And we can ignore that all we want. But a poor guy from Africa who's just trying to make a living, the other day got shot by a young brother who was a coward and had the register open and had no reason to shoot that man dead. The register was open. You know, and nobody's marching up and down talking about it. Don't get me started. All right, go ahead. The first you hearing about that? Hello, it's been on the news all week. But the point is that if it was a you know, a cop or somebody else that shot him, they'd be right there on Trade Tryon and making a whole big stink about it. You know, stopping traffic on Independence and all kinds of nonsense. Not to say that that's not supposed to happen, but it should happen all the time. They should be in their own neighborhoods, policing their own neighborhoods, and figuring out a way to get these thugs out of the neighborhood. Don't talk about Hidden Valley, which ain't hidden. All right, I'm gonna try to slow down here. I got a long way to go.
Oh, toasty.
Just two exciting questions, the same theme. So how do the righteous ones get their voice out there? We know how people, I mean, as it were, people who are just upright Israelites, there's no, oh, they're upright when they're at work, but on the street corner they're this way. Like people like ourselves. How do we get ahead of that? Like we see Muslims go out there. They got terrorists killing thousands of people, and they go out there and they say, hey, I'm on your college campus, we have a Muslim student association, would you like to come to Ramadan with us? They're out there ahead of a lot of the really bad news. So what do you suggest we do? And then the other side of that is we're going to have a lot of youth here, much of this room, especially on the sisters' side. That's going to be the reaction. It's like, you're one of them, right? Aren't they? That's going to be the same line of questions. Aren't they like those angry people on YouTube? You're that? It's like, oh, well, you're going to want to back off and play it down. So it's the same thing. How do we feel confident with a Torah-based vision? Because we already know, too, those are messianics. They're not purely committed to the message of the Torah, too.
Good question. I personally don't like to proselytize. That's not what I do. I think that we can represent ourselves in how we wear the culture and how we carry ourselves. I don't think we need to. First of all, my attitude is the less they know about us, the better. I'm not interested in being a poster boy for good Israelites. I think that we can accomplish a lot more if we develop and rise slowly and quietly. That's my approach. I don't have a problem with somebody else that wants to do something different. We can talk about that. I don't have a problem about talking about that. But what I do not agree, and I'm going to put it out there because you asked the question, I do not agree with assimilating with the Jews. I do not agree with just going on YouTube and we want to reach the people that need to understand who they are and what we need to do as a nation. And I do believe that there's ways that we can do that. We can do community service. We can be active in the community on our level that help our people without having to get out on a soapbox, to say, hey, we're here and we're not them. I don't think that's necessary. I think that there are things that we can do and we can talk about that. But I would say we have to do it very strategically because people are out to harm us and they cannot be trusted. And we have to be wise enough to know if you don't come from New York or from a place where you know how they target us, then you're being naive. And so we could come up with some solutions to that, and I have no problem with that, but it has to be done very, very strategically. And those who are willing to go out and make those type of advances, we're going to have to do it with a strategy that makes sense, because I'm not really interested. Carl Mikhail is known all over the world, but you'll never see him in public TV or doing these types of things. And he's known all over the world. So it can be done. Okay? So we just have to know how to do it, and we just have to not feel that we have an obligation to satisfy that, almost said it, that guy on the screen. Okay? So I'm going to leave it at that, because it's an emotional topic for me. And I have a video that I want our youth to see, and some of our adults, and it starts with, and we're going to get to that in a minute. I want to cover a portion first, but I'm hoping to have enough time. It's a 40-minute video of Black history, because we try to keep pushing that out there, because we want our children to understand how they got here and what the process was to get here, so that they can understand. And it's not to make you hate anybody, it's so that you can understand where you came from, so that you understand. Because look, all you need is 45 in there for 2 years, and look at the damage he's done. He's just brought all of the people with the sheets on, now they took the sheets off, and they're out here marching against us. Okay, the same people are really coming down. They're harder on us now than they were 20, 30 years ago, because it's become a popular thing and it's been accepted. So you know that the racism hasn't gone anywhere. They've just been in hiding. That's it. They've been, Obama and Trump and Clinton and a few others have kept them in the closet, but they're out right now. And they're proud. Okay? So we're all a threat to them, and we're all at risk because of that. Because they're shooting our young men. You don't even, we already had this conversation. Don't take your wallet out. That's right. You know, you don't know what to do when you get stopped. This is because these people are packed with racism. It's ridiculous. I really want to get started. Let's save it for later if you don't mind. I'm sorry, I'm not going there. I gotta get started. It's already 7:15. I have a topic I want to cover. I'll let you have your say before, so you have to hold on to it for a minute. Okay. Do I sound like I'm spreading hate?
No. Not at all.
Okay. All right, I'm just wondering. Listen, yeah. I lived through it. I lived 42 years in New York, and I've lived 23 years here. Yeah, 65, I ain't ashamed. But my point is, I've seen both worlds as an adult. I know the difference. I know the difference of the racism here, and I know the difference of the racism in New York. And the racism in New York is worse than the racism down here. It's covert.
I saw how far you had to run.
Yeah, he saw how far I had to run. Yeah, I told y'all last week I took him to my spot where I went to junior high school. And it was no joke. Yeah, talk about that another time. So now, we want to move on to something else. I want to cover some James Allen and some Tanakh together. This is a collaboration between myself and the elder over here, Zaquain. And we put together a little something. I don't know his portion exactly going to take us, but we're going to go there. So I need you to take out your smartphones. Take out your smartphones and look up James Allen Free Library. James Allen Free Library. On your smartphones. If you got a dumb phone, it's going to be up here on the screen. Where's Britia? Okay, James Allen Free Library. When you get to James Allen Free Library, you're going to go to the book Above Life's Turmoil. Above Life's Turmoil. Above Life's Turmoil. He ain't not. He's trying. Listen, I need him when that man wants not here. Okay, Above Life's Turmoil. And we're going to go to chapter 10. Your mental attitude. Your mental attitude. That's what we want to talk about today. Your mental attitude. Are you going to read the James Allen? You want someone else to read the James Allen?
I read through it already.
You want to read it? Why don't we break it up? That way you can focus on the Tanakh.
That's it there.
And you can tell, okay, you can follow along, but I want you to throw in when I need to.
What chapter?
That's it there.
Torah.
Chapter
We're gonna do,
Jeremy.
Give it to Moray Tyrell. So you're not gonna follow along? He can read it from the screen. Put it up on the screen and let Zaquin keep the book so he can follow along. So he knows where the breaking points are. Okay, family, I want you to hang with me because we want to get some stuff in here. While they're getting prepared, I know that the other team, y'all must be very upset school ended yesterday. Anybody? Raise your hands, all of you are so upset y'all want to go back on Monday. Raise your hand, you want to go back on Monday. See, there's some of the students want to go back on Monday. Parents? Parents.
Employees.
I say this every year, and I really shouldn't have to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway, just in case you forgot. Do not let these kids languish at home and they're not reading. Everybody needs to get to the library. These children need to be reading every day. They do not need 8 hours of video games, television, and swimming pool. Okay? Because they're gonna lose some of their gains over the summer. This is statistically been proven that when children take a summer vacation and they're not studying, reading, and what have you, they lose some of that information when they go back. Any teachers in here would say that I'm giving off false information, please raise your hand and I'll shut my mouth. I don't see any hands raised, okay? So parents, please stay on top of your children and make sure that there's some studying going on every day. At least an hour of reading will not hurt them. It will only help them. Toda Rabbah. Okay, so now we're ready for your mental attitude. We're talking about your mental attitude, my mental attitude, not somebody else's mental attitude. Okay? So that's what we're going to be talking about, and we're going to get started. And my reader can start reading on that wise. Toda.
Your mental attitude. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
As a being of thought, your dominant mental attitude will determine your condition in life. It will also be the gauge of your knowledge and the measures of your attainment. The so-called limitations of your nature are the boundary lines of your thoughts. They are self-erected fences and can be drawn to a narrower circle, extended to a wider, or be allowed to remain.
Okay, so you're a being of thought. That means you have the ability to think whatever it is you want to think. There is no limitations on the things you can put your mind to think about. Am I right?
Correct.
But keep in mind that what you think about has an effect, a direct effect on the things that you do and how you perceive your attitude about life. Your attitude about life. If I teach you hate and you listen to it and you start thinking about hate, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to go out, not only are you going to hate, you're going to go out and you're going to portray that hate on other people. Even the people you love. Because you can't make a separation. Okay? That's the first thing.
Go ahead.
He's ready to interrupt me already. Give me a minute. Let me lay the foundations up on you. Okay? So now, and that's going to determine your condition in life. Because let's say, for instance, even if you have a rough life, or I watched a video from here while we were gone, and the sister, I think her name was Terry, sat next to Shoshana. She was blind. Now, some blind people, what's her name? Kima, I'm sorry. All right, Terry was here today. I'm sorry, that's what I got. My point is, she had a very positive, upbeat attitude. I was amazed. She not only had an upbeat attitude, she traveled here from Raleigh by herself, from Philly by herself. She's blind. And she traveled here by herself because her mental attitude told her, I can do this. I'm not going to let this handicap stop me from doing the things that I want to do, what I want to make out of my life. That's her mental attitude. You have some blind people, they don't want to go anywhere unless they're on somebody's shoulder. They may not even leave the house because of their mental attitude. That's how powerful your mind is. Okay? So let's
get the so-called limitations of your nature are the boundary lines of your thoughts. They are self-erected fences. You put fences around your own ability when you have a bad attitude or bad mental attitude about your own abilities. Okay? So where would you like us to go with that first
Well,
line?
we go to Genesis 4, the 3rd chapter.
Let's go to Genesis 4, the 3rd. Genesis 4.
Genesis 4. Genesis 4.
The third verse?
Third verse.
Okay, Genesis 4.
What did I say?
Genesis 4.
Third verse.
This ain't gonna work. All right, so I'll give you another chance. Okay, Genesis 4:3. What does it say?
And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground as an offering unto Jehovah. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And Jehovah had respect unto Abel and unto his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell.
Because he had a bad attitude. Right. He had a bad, not only a bad mental attitude, but he also had a lack of respect for the Creator. Right. He had a negative attitude. And this is where it took him. And the Creator, I don't think he even said a whole lot, but the Creator read his mind. Right. The Creator looked at how he came up with the offering and made a determination, I don't need that. Right. It's like somebody bring you a plate of food and they fix this nice plate of food and then they just drop it off in your on the table in your lap. I mean, really, do you really want to eat that?
Mad food.
Now you might be hungry, but you're gonna feel a kind of way. We have to be careful. Let's move on. Let's go back to James Allen. Some people saying, I'm eating that food. I'm gonna eat that food. I'll deal with her later. I'll deal with him later, but that food look good.
That's mad food.
That's another person with a bad mental attitude.
You are the thinker of your thoughts. Right. And as such, you are the maker of yourself and condition. Thought is casual and creative.
Causal. It's not casual, it's causal.
Slika. Thought is causal and creative and appears in your character and life in the form of results.
Okay, so the things we think, they say it's causal. That means it makes us do things. Right. It makes us do things and it appears in our character and our life in the form of results. So after we think about stuff, we take the wrong approach or we do something, we have to go back because our character and our life is being affected, and then you're going to see it in the results. Something's going to happen from all of this stuff that's going to lead to a result, an effect. And if you don't like the effect, you can't blame the effect. You got to figure out what the cause was. And if it started with your thought, then you're the cause. A lot of times we say this all the time. You could choose the cause. You don't know how it's going to affect your life. Because a lot of times we don't think that far ahead. That's the problem. We don't realize that certain things that we think and we end up doing are going to have the result, because that's not the result we expected. Right. But that's the problem. You cannot have an expectation of an effect. Because all you can control is the cause. You can't tell me how I'm going to react to something you do. I can't tell you how you should react to something I say. Because I don't have any control over that. And you may even react wrongly, but guess what? I still can't tell you how to react. Let's read on. I want to stick with that a little further.
There are no accidents in your life. Both its harmonies and antagonisms are the responsive echoes of your thoughts.
Right.
A man thinks and his life appears.
You think about stuff, it doesn't happen that quickly. You don't just think about it. You think about it, you ponder it, you might even talk about it, and then you act upon it. And then your life appears. All of a sudden you find yourself in this condition or that condition under this particular
thing or that thing. Now, I'm not saying good or bad. It's going to depend on how you play out your thoughts into your actions.
If your dominant mental attitude is peaceable and lovable, bliss and blessedness will follow you. If it be resistant and hateful, trouble and distress will cloud your pathway. Out of ill will will come grief and disaster. Out of goodwill, healing and reparation.
Okay, so that's why it's so important for us to think about how we approach even things that we think are adversity to us. Because a lot of times, what happens is, we do stuff, and when the result comes out that is negative, and we find ourselves the victim, we forget that there was something we did that put us in that predicament in the first place. We're just focusing on the fact that it had a bad result, and we're the victim now. So now we considering ourselves, you know, the effect. But no, you were the cause. You were actually the cause, but now you see yourself as the victim because you're dealing with the effects. Sometimes the effects don't hurt other people. The effects hurt the person who's the cause.
Okay. Shabbat shalom. That one line says, your dominant mental attitude is peaceable and lovable. Bliss and blessedness will follow. But if resentful and hateful, trouble and distress will cloud your pathway. Now, sometimes when individuals try to take a peaceful approach to certain situations, sometimes it's looked at as weakness, as sometimes being naive. And if somebody's position is like that, is it wise, based on these words, to try to support how they may feel, but also bring forth information that be careful, you know, what you're trying to create certain bridges that you should not create, but it's showing us, based on the author, that if we try to, even in a hostile, you say an adverse situation, we try to approach it in a peaceful way, then bliss and blessedness will follow. Is that majority the case? Or I know we have to protect ourselves, but how can you make sure that you want to follow peace, but at the same time don't destroy yourself and your family in the interim?
It says your dominant mental attitude is peaceful. If your dominant mental attitude is peaceful, you may have a dormant mental attitude that has to deal with a negative type of deal or situation. So in other words, hopefully your dominant, peaceable, and lovable attitude will have an impact in a positive way on the people that you come into contact with. If you come into contact with people who are, no matter how you come at them, especially even in the kindness of your heart, are aggressive towards you, you got to be prepared for that. And you have to react to that. You can't walk around, because that's turning the other cheek. And that's what we are not supposed to do. So, you know, again, it says your dominant attitude, which means that there's another attitude that you have that's not dominant that you got to have in your back pocket when you need it. All right? Okay. Let's read a proverb.
Proverb
24:1.
Proverb 25. It's both of them. Proverb 24.
Got any, yeah?
Proverb 20. You
have Proverb 24 here.
24.
Israel is not an easy people.
Storm me down now.
I know they're not, man. 24:1. Be not thou envious of evil men.
Amen.
Neither desire to be with them.
Amen.
For their heart studieth destruction, and their lips talk of mischief. That's right. Okay.
All right.
And in Proverb 20.
Give me that one.
25. What samurai made that?
25. Proverb 11, 5, and 6.
Oh, yeah, I got that. 11, 5, and 6. Stay with us, folks. Stay with us.
Cain. Proverbs 11:5-6, the righteous. The righteous of the sincere shall make straight his way, but the wicked shall fall by his own wickedness. The righteousness of the upright shall deliver them, but the faithless shall be trapped in their own crafty device.
Let me just say this. The comment that I made to you in response to your question deals with the immediate situation. By no means should that change how we conduct ourselves in the future and how we can get to a point where maybe we can have a positive influence on that same individual or individuals that may change their spirit. But it's not going to happen in an immediate fashion if you meet resistance like that. You saw what happened with the guy in the hotel. He had to wait until he got her at a disadvantage because he couldn't deal with her on the phone. He had to wait till he got her at a disadvantage where she needed something from him to give out his retribution. He had to take the attack that she gave him because how do you defend that? You know? And so he was waiting for her. I bet he was probably off that day and came in just so he could be there when she checked in. You know what I'm saying? This is the N-word that you was talking to on the phone. And guess what? We're full. There are no vacancies. You understand? So there's a way and a time for everything. So we're going to take all of that into consideration. But we're talking about our own personal mental attitude and how not other influences are affecting us, but how our own influences within our minds are affecting us. Because we have more control over that than we have over anything else going on in the universe. This is the strongest muscle in your body. This is the strongest force in the world. Is your mind.
That's right.
Let's read on. Yeah, no, he gave us his portions.
I'm back at James.
Yeah, we're back at James Allen. You all with me?
Absolutely. We here, right?
You feeling it?
Absolutely.
I'm too hyped?
Not at all.
All right. Don't tell me to slow down now. It's too late. The train's already left the station.
Let it come. Bring it.
You imagine your circumstances as being separate from yourself.
Right.
But they are intimately related to your thought world. Nothing appears without an adequate cause. Everything that happens is just. Nothing is fading. Everything is formed.
So that's what is so beautiful about these writings, is that it constantly reminds us how much power we have, how much control we have over our own lives. Because it's so easy to blame others for our situation.
Yeah.
The devil made me do it. She made me do it. He did that and made me do it. We always have to find a scapegoat for the things that we do that we absolutely have the power to change. And it really becomes harmful when it's not so much that you're reacting to somebody else's negativity, but that we're making bad choices because of bad thoughts in our head.
Right.
It's the bad thought in our head that gets us in the most trouble with the Creator, with each other, with the world, and with our own lives.
Time to teach. Teach, son.
As you think, you travel. As you love, you attract. You are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you. You cannot escape the results of your thoughts, but you can endure and learn, can accept and be glad. You will always come to the place where your love can receive its measure of gratification.
Where you love most abiding in
Let's go back and read that. Read all
You
that.
will always come to the place where your love, your most abiding and intense thought, can receive its measure of gratification. If your love be base, you will come to a base place.
Right.
If it be beautiful, you will come to a beautiful place.
Now see, it started out like love is a good thing. No, it depends on what you love. It's not just about love, it's what you love. Do you love poverty and degradation and living on the corner and all of these things, or do you love peace, harmony, respect. Some people love disrespect. Honestly, they love being in a position where people not so much disrespect them, but they don't respect them. They disrespect the way they live. And that's their badge of honor. You grow up in a certain neighborhood, you want to have a negative image. That makes you powerful in that neighborhood. And what it does, it keeps you either in that neighborhood, in the grave, or in the jail. Those are your three options.
Yep.
And then when you sit under other people who train you from a child to think like that, they're setting you up for disaster, for failure.
That's right.
And some of them stand right here, stand in this position of power, just like the brothers on the corner.
That's right.
What are they doing for the people?
That's right.
What are they accomplishing for Israel? All they're doing is trying to destroy the enemy by yelling at them. You think they care? You might insult them and offend them, but they still going home to their homes and their jobs and their families and their money and their success, and they're keeping you out of their neighborhood and out of their schools and away from their children.
Talk about it. Teach.
What do you gain?
Real talk.
Disrespect.
Hate doesn't get us anywhere. This is what gets us respect for ourselves, education, good character, good morals. That's what we should be focusing on. Forget about the enemy. The way we're going to defeat the enemy is by the things I just said.
That's right.
We're not going to defeat them with guns. They make the guns. Let's read on.
You can alter your thoughts, and so alter your condition. Strive to perceive the vastness and grandeur of your responsibility.
I'm telling you how important it is for you to try to accept what I'm telling you and what he wrote on this paper. That the power that you have is so magnificent. And it's all about how you think about the world. How you think about yourself. It's nothing else there. He's saying, read that again, please.
Go back to that. You can alter your thoughts.
Just change the way you think about things. In other words, wake up tomorrow with a different attitude, with this negative attitude you might have been walking around with, that everybody else is responsible for your condition.
And so alter your condition.
So now, I realize that that person is not responsible for the situation I'm in. I have the power to change it. First of all, I might need to get them out of my life. If they're the problem.
Exactly.
And then I have to figure out how I'm going to fix my life. I can sometimes fix it around them. And eventually, and this is the beautiful thing about a powerful mind. When your mind is powerful enough to help you change yourself, that's the quickest way to change other people. You can change other. Let me tell you a little something about relationships that I think I have a little information about. All right? When you're in a relationship and you have patterns of behavior. Every relationship has patterns of behavior. You do this, I do that. Next time come around, you do this, I do that. Next time come around, I do this, you do that. This is the pattern. See the pattern? We're going in circles. And then somebody wises up and says, you know what? That's not working. I'm going to change how I deal with that person. I'm going to do it a different way. You throw them off. Wait a minute. What you do? I'm out of sequence here. You were supposed to do this and you didn't do that. Now I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention and I'm trying to figure out how to fix it because the old way didn't work.
That's right.
I make you mad. I do something wrong. You get mad. I come home. Oh, it worked. So then they can do it again. They can do that 1,000 times. And they know what you're going to do. You know what they're going to do. And you're in this pattern of getting nowhere. All of a sudden, that becomes unacceptable and that doesn't work anymore. Guess what? They got to change their tactics. They don't have a choice, because if not, they're going to lose you. Common sense? Ain't so common.
That's right.
Because we get in these relationships and we run around in these circles, and all the while, the poor little ones, the innocent ones, are caught up in the middle of the turmoil. There's a whirlpool going around and they're in the middle.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Because we haven't figured out how to think logically and wisely and fixing our relationships, or just fixing ourselves. Usually you fix yourself, you can fix your relationship. Either that, or the other person's going to help fix their side of the relationship, or guess what? This was a bad idea. They talked about it earlier today. Before you get into the bad idea, don't have the bad idea. Figure that person out before you give away the cookies.
Hello.
Get to know somebody. Get to understand them. Get to see if there's respect. Get to have some adversity with them and see how they deal with it.
That's right.
Before you give out the cookies. Because once you give out the cookies, then heck, everything else is off the table. We don't need to discuss it that, because I like the cookies, you like the milk. Let's put the two together. Let's get it on. Yeah, I know. And what happens?
Real talk.
We may not have no children, but we still got problems. And then you find out you're going from this relationship to that relationship. You know, you done made your rounds around Israel. Now you're stepping outside of Israel. You done ran out of people. Nobody don't want to deal with you no more.
Step on the toes.
Back up.
Reality. Real talk.
Oh, man.
Real talk.
I don't want any armed people in this room when I'm having these conversations.
Real talk.
Listen, I've been around long enough to know that there's too many failed relationships and jacked up marriages and screwed up kids and all of that in Israel. Too much. We need to stop the cycle. We need to start thinking before we get busy. Am I off topic here?
No.
Okay. All right. Your mental attitude. This is about your mental attitude. Everybody, think about your mental attitude. How do you approach life? How do you approach what it is you want out of life? How are you approaching it? Are you in a dysfunctional mental state? Are you in a dysfunctional relationship? Are you in a dysfunctional pursuit? You going after something that's really not for you? And I'm not just talking about relationships. I'm talking about what it is you want out of your life. If you know that you can't add, then you don't say that you want to be a doctor. Give me a break. You know, you got to go in the direction that makes sense for your capacity. That's another thing. All our children want to be is basketball players and rappers. Maybe you can't rap. Maybe you need to go out and get a job. Maybe you need to go out and get a trade. Maybe if you're 5'2", you can't be a professional basketball player. You need to come up with another idea that's gonna help you be successful. We gotta stop watching too much TV. We're living vicariously through the fools, through the people on the screen that we can't compete with. That's their life. That ain't your life. This whole nonsense about Beyonce on the basketball court. Give me a break. You think Beyonce cares? Yeah, she likes the attention, but guess what? That lady, them two women there married to billionaires. And you worried about the fact that she kind of stepped in her space. Like she can't tell that lady back off or just get up and walk away. Everybody's got to get involved in that and start the cyberbullying. Y'all need a life. You need a life if you could spend that much time worrying about Beyonce's life.
That's right. Cheat, though.
That happened this week for those who didn't see it in the news. All right? I'm not making this stuff up.
That's Portugal.
Google it. All right, hold on. Come back to me. All right? I'm falling off the rails. I feel like I'm going off the rails a little bit.
Not at all. You're right. You're good. You're good.
Because it's really, listen,
Uplifting of our nation.
I just want, you know, it's every man's, woman's wish to, that has this role to try to make a dent. I'm not asking for a whole lot. I just want to make a dent in how we change course to be more direct about achieving the goals that Israel needs to achieve. Every generation has a responsibility to take us further along. We gotta leave, I have to leave my grandchildren and my children in a better place than I found this world and I found myself as an Israelite. There's no way that there should be 4 or 5 generations and we don't see progress.
Teach.
What were all of these other generations doing that did not make that accomplishment? And we have to figure out why it didn't happen so that we can make sure that it happens in our lifetime. That's my job.
Nice.
And so I'm hoping that I spark enough interest in these types of topics because we all know the book. Most of y'all in here can quote it better than I can. So that's not the problem. The problem is application. The problem is putting it to practice to the point where it becomes a natural thing, where we're living it naturally and we're not having to read it every week and recite it and say, I'm a smarter Israelite than you are. You have a portion?
Hey.
Let's go there.
1 Samuel 2, verse 12. Now the sons of Eli were base men. They knew not Jehovah. And the custom of the Kohanim with the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the Kohanim's servant came, while the flesh was in seething with a flesh hook of 3 teeth in his hand. And he stuck it into the pan, or kettle, or cauldron, or pot. All that the flesh hook brought up, the Kohen took therewith. That's one portion, then go into, that's one side of the coin to the other side. But Samuel, at verse 18, but Samuel ministered before Jehovah, being a child girded with a linen ephod.
Okay, so now we're talking about 2 mental attitudes here. The mental attitude of the negative energy and the mental attitude that the Creator had put into Samuel. As they mentioned earlier, Samuel was a Nazarite from birth. He didn't choose that portion. He didn't choose that life or that purpose for himself. The Creator chose it. And when that happens, you got to understand, when the Creator gets that involved in facilitating a creation, and was both by barren women that he gave these children to. He didn't just give it to any woman. He gave it to barren women, and he used them to help create a life and a spirit in a person that would be so influential and receptive to his mission, the Creator's mission to help Israelites. We don't understand the full significance of that because we just think, oh, we got here now, this is my world, you know. I do what I want, you know. We're not thinking that we have a purpose like Samuel and Shimshon knew they had a purpose. And they fulfilled their purpose. And I do believe that at some point in his life that Shimshon knew he was, I think it was before the day he died. I think the fact that he knew that he was always on the run, but he also knew from his parents that he was there at the Creator's will to do his mission. And it was inevitable that he would not live a long life because of the lifestyle that the Creator gave him as opposed to what Samuel's lifestyle was. His thing was to harass the Philistines. Strictly harass them. And he did a doggone good job of it.
He was good at his job.
I done lost my page here. All right, now, I don't know if we're going to finish this because I want y'all to see that video. Okay, so we're going to move a little quicker. Am I right, my meter? We're going back to James Allen.
Strive to perceive.
You will always come to a place where, okay, we finished that. Oh, you are powerful.
You are powerful, not powerless.
Right.
You are as powerful to obey as you are to disobey. As strong to be pure as to be impure. As ready for wisdom as for ignorance.
Just got to make a choice.
You can learn what you will, can remain as ignorant as you choose. If you love knowledge, you will obtain it. If you love wisdom, you will secure it. If you love purity, you will realize it. All things await your acceptance.
Right.
And you choose by the thoughts which you entertain.
You know, some people, I think about some people who, you know, I forgot who the benefactor was. He's a famous man who started the library system. He did a...
Astor Tilden.
Tilden? Okay. He started the library system. He was just a philanthropist who started just giving out books and making it available for people to borrow them and bring them back. That turned into a whole system. What's my point? You can learn anything you want just by reading a book. You can read a novel with information like what's his name's book? Windsor, Rudolph Windsor's books. Those are novels. Those are actually nonfiction. I mean fiction, I should say, not nonfiction, that you can learn from. So there's so many ways to learn so many different things that none of us should claim ignorance because we didn't go to college or we didn't even go to school. My father didn't go to school, but we taught my father math right in our living room. He was about to open up a business. Do you remember this, Shoshana? You were young. She probably don't remember. My father had a 2nd grade education. My mother had an 8th grade education. My father opened up a business and we had to teach him math. We taught him how to read and do all of that stuff. And out of those 2 people, they produced 10 children, but just my mother and my father produced 8. We have at least 2 doctors. We have at least 3 masters. So that just goes to show you, it doesn't have to start with the parents. The children can make a better life for themselves just by their own accomplishments and give glory to the Creator. But the parents, if they instill in them a sense of righteousness and a good mental attitude, then they're preparing their children to take over the world.
That's right. That's right.
You don't have to have an education to prepare your children to take over the world. You just have to make them believe in themselves and give them different avenues of exposure to see what they can do with it. So if you have a child that likes to do certain things, expose them to music. Not just the drum, expose them to instruments. Expose them to things that you never thought about doing because your limitations were there and nobody thought about it. You think about it. Think about what you can do to make your children more worldly. There's amazing things they can accomplish. You know, in the Israelite community, one person makes tzitzit, everybody's making tzitzit. Oh, come on. Why everybody trying to compete with each other selling the same thing? It makes no sense. Everything somebody does in Israel, one person selling incense, you got 10 people selling it. Come on. One person sells oil, next thing you know, 5 people selling oil. It's not funny. It's serious. Come on, do something different. Expose your children and yourself to other things.
Buy your children a science kit. Buy them, find out what their aptitudes are for different things. I'm just saying. Break the mold.
Messy.
I don't know. You ready? What you got, Zaquan? We gotta get to the video. Y'all with me? Y'all mind staying a little over tonight?
Right here with you. Right here.
You got somewhere to go?
They got a meet.
You can't, oh, they got a sister meeting. Ah, well. Okay. We understand. We understand. All right. Okay, hold on. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go a few more minutes, and then we're gonna see what we can't see from the video. Okay?
Let it come. Let it come.
All right, let's let it flow. Yeah, you're gonna get me in trouble. If I listen to you, I'll be up here till tomorrow, and they'll be, yeah, look at, yeah, you see the shoe over there? She going on, she got on her multicolor outfit today, and she thinks she could just, she got a cape on. She's a superhero. Yeah, okay. Back off. Okay, come on now. Come back. Where we going with this? All right. What is this?
This is,
all right.
all things await your acceptance and you choose by thoughts which you entertain.
Okay, let's go down to a man remains ignorant.
All right. A man remains ignorant because he loves ignorance.
Wow.
And chooses ignorant thoughts. A man becomes wise because he loves wisdom and chooses wise thoughts. No man is hindered by another. He is only hindered by himself. No man suffers because of another. He suffers only because of himself.
Please keep in mind, I told you all this before. If you're having a miserable day, don't blame it on somebody else. It's your mental attitude. Because two people can have the same beginning to their day and have two different days.
That's right.
Somebody could start you off with a negative whatever. You go to the same store and the same nasty guy says something nasty. You take it and you run with it. You make that whole day your worst day because of something. The other person said, you know what? I feel sorry for them. I'm going to pray for you. And I'm going to go out there and have me a great day because there's so many beautiful things because when somebody messes up your day, you mess up the rest of the day. They mess up your morning, you mess up your lunch and your afternoon. You mess up your dinner and your night, and you know you don't want to mess up your night. Okay? So, it's your mental attitude. Just stay positive. Keep it moving. I have a whole lot more I could say on this, but I don't have the time. Because the sisterhood don't want to hear it. They got other things to do. Let's read on.
By the noble gateway of pure thought, you can enter the highest heaven. By the ignoble doorway of impure thought, you can descend into the lowest leather world.
Okay. Okay.
Your mental attitude towards others will faithfully react upon yourself.
Right. Hold on. Let's talk about that. Your mental attitude towards others will faithfully react upon yourself. So, you don't like me, or I don't like you. Eventually, it's going to bring out a negative energy in me. That's right. I don't have to go there. I can ignore you. You can say whatever.
That's right.
And, you know, some people get mad when they get ignored. You know, if I got a negative attitude towards you and you walking around like you don't care, woo! You know what I'm saying? Now I got to figure out a way to start an argument here. Because I'm not getting enough of your attention. I don't see enough of your negativity coming back in my negativity. And this ain't going to work.
Oh my goodness.
Or you could just say, you know what? I'm not going to feed into it. Exactly. You know? First of all, you started it, and I'm not going to get drawn in.
Right.
End of story. They're gonna have to find somebody else. It's easy, it's not easier said than done, but it is not that hard to do. You just gotta know how, yeah. And guess what? If you got a car and a driver's license and gas, move on. Take a walk, whatever you gotta do. Let's finish it out because I want to get this video started.
Your mental attitude, no. No, I have to start from the beginning. Your mental attitude towards others will faithfully react upon yourself and will manifest itself in every relation of your life.
You heard that? Go ahead.
Every impure, selfish thought that you send out comes back to you in your circumstances in some form of suffering. Every pure and unselfish thought returns to you in some form of blessedness.
I want to repeat that, and I'm going to move fast. Every impure thought and every impure and selfish thought that you send out comes back to you in your circumstances. So you think you're hurting somebody else, and you're actually hurting yourself. Because you make, and it's not just like, oh, you're hurt, your circumstances. So that's your life. Your life is your circumstances. And you're set, and that has a ripple effect. It's not just, oh, one little thing. It turns into a whole snowball effect when it's involving your circumstances. They didn't say your circumstance. They pluralized it. Okay? Let's go.
Your circumstances are effects of which the cause is inward and invisible.
Your circumstances are effects which you caused.
As the father, mother of your thoughts, you are the maker of your state and condition.
Because you can decide how you want to react to something or relate to something on your own. You don't have to let other people dictate, which is what we do in relationships. We do things to push each other's buttons or to try to control each other and all these various things, and then we blame the other person.
When you know yourself, you will perceive that every event in your life is weighed in the faultless balance of equity. When you understand the law within your mind, you will cease to regard yourself as the impotent and blind tool of circumstances, and will become the strong and seeing master.
Take control over your thoughts. Take control over your life. We're going to move on to the video.
One last proverb.
Yeah, let's do the proverb while he's finding the point.
The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked is all frowardness.
Amen. All right, so we're going to move on. This is a video that I found for Black History Month, and it just starts off, you know, on how we started out.
Virginia was.
Let's just see how far it goes. I didn't see the whole thing, so at some point we'll turn it off if it gets too graphic. But I don't think that's the case. And so let's turn the lights out, or let's just get these lights out. This is probably the most important. It gets too dark. Just turn out one side of the lights, maybe. Leave the ones outside on. Fix that. Yeah. That's no. Leave one on. Leave one on. Okay, turn on. I'm afraid of the dark. Come on, folks. Stay with me. Just watch the video. Yellow Dean, pay attention. How we doing already? Let's get some sound, please.
In 1619, Virginia was a sparsely populated island which was struggling to make the colony profitable for human. But the colonies were devastated by disease, death, and Native American attacks. So when a badly damaged Dutch ship arrived on their island, carrying 20 kidnapped Africans, the colony offered food and services to the Dutchman in exchange for the human cargo. The colonies had no model for human slavery, so the Africans joined the Europeans to serve them in their fields. In exchange for 7 years of hard labor, they would be earning land and food. The colonies prospered, and their exports grew more profitable. The colonies were more reluctant to lose their labor. Africans here were not subject to English common law, but they were workers without rights. In 1641, when slavery was legalized, situations became worse, and the law said that Africans became personal property and could be owner for life. Slavery became so profitable in the colonies that in 1660, King Charles II established a company named the Royal African Company to import Africans for slavery. They were referred to as black gold, who were imported from Africa to America. America relied on its own internal slave trade when the British outlawed slavery in 1807. By 1860, there were more than 1 million slaves being moved and sold within the colonies. The traders marched the slaves from the east coast to the southern plantations. On the way, the slaves were treated like animals and herded in warehouses and yards. The traders wanted a self-reproducing labor force, and the labels they used reflected the degradation of slavery. They were sold in the auction, where women were further sold into prostitution or as mistresses to their masters. The enslaved population was controlled by legal authorized violence, whippings, and public beatings. But slavery always had its critics in America. As the slave trade grew, so did the opposition, and eventually, America became a country divided against itself. The black population. Within 100 years, around 25,000 black slaves occupied the colonies of North America, constituting about 10% of the total population. Most of the slaves were directly brought from Africa, while some of them were brought from the West Indies, who had already been working in the island for some time, and many of them were born in North America. Laws had defined their status clearly. They were slaves till they died, and the children of the female slaves were also bound to their masters. They could be freely sold or given freedom, and many tried to run away using the Underground Railway. For the owners, they were merely herds of animals. The number of slaves that were imported from Africa was highest between 1660 and 1700. When more and more white settlers cleared land for agriculture and plantations. The demand for slaves from West Indies reduced as they were more expensive, hard to get, or their strengths were destroyed because of the hardships from working on the sugar plantations. In the end of 17th century, the British removed many taxes and royal monopolies from America, which made it easier for America to trade for slaves. Healthier and physically stronger African slaves were now available at cheaper prices. For the next 150 years, between the 1700 to 1859, most of the slaves brought to North America came straight from Africa in massive shipments to fulfill the needs of the required labor as the Americans were expanding their farms and plantations in the South and were heading their way to South Carolina, Virginia, and Spanish Louisiana or French. The northern colonies were much more developed, residential and industrialized communities, and they were more dependent on economy rather than farming. Hence, they did not buy or import any slaves from Africa. There was a very small group of black who occupied that area, and it remained the same for a long time. But the bigger cities like Boston, New York, and Philadelphia had huge colonies of black population. Some were free and some were slaves. They continued to occupy these cities during the time of colonies, as well as after America gained its freedom. During 1750s, there were more American-born slaves of African origin than African-born slaves. When the period for the American Revolution was near, slavery also became less, and most of the states in North stopped and forbid slavery. The states of the South, like Virginia, however, had so many locally born, self-sustaining slaves that they did not require to import any slaves from Africa. They continued to have slaves though. South Carolina and Georgia in the South continued to import slaves for many more years till 1808. A few states imported so many black slaves that the blacks outnumbered the white people by 3 to 1 in South Carolina. whereas although Virginia had many slaves, the whites continued to dominate the population. By the 18th century, South Carolina looked much more like extended colony of West Africa than of British. In 1808, slave importing had stopped and the new American laws prohibited Americans from partaking in slavery completely. Yet, till late 1859, there were many ships which illegally shipped slaves from Africa. Gradually, the free blacks started to occupy cities beside the Atlantic coast from Charleston to Boston. Most of the slaves lived towards the south in the rice and tobacco plantations. They were cluttered into groups of 20 and more in one room, while the slaves who lived in the towns and cities were better advantaged than them. The rich plantation holders had become dependent on the slaves that they deprived their own lower class of people by not employing or giving them work. Within a few years' association, slavery had become so deeply involved in the Southern economy that it later on divided America into two. The utmost stead slave insurgence was the Stonewall Uprising in South Carolina of September 1739. There were around 56,000 slaves in the colony who outstripped the white population 2:1. Over 150 slaves raised their voices against the whites. They seized ammunition and guns and killed 21 whites and moved towards Spanish Florida. The local soldiers, however, seized and killed most of the rebels. The imbalance in the statistical distribution of slaves in the North and South was one of the reasons which led to freedom of the blacks. The northern part of America only had about 2% of blacks as slaves who were personal servants, whereas there were 25% of slaves who worked in the plantations in the southern parts of America. The Revolution in early America. The second half of the 18th century was a time of unrest for the people of the United States. In the middle of calls for respite from British rule, people pointed out the ostensible pretenses of slave owners who demanded independence. The Declaration of Independence was to become a platform for hominid privileges and individual independence was written by Thomas Jefferson, who held over 200 slaves in captivity. There were other statesmen who enslaved many blacks as well. The Second Continental Congress did contemplate liberating slaves to interrupt British trade. They removed dialectal from the Declaration of Independence, which comprised the preferment of captivity among the felonies of King George III. There were many blacks who wrote petitions to end the slavery. One such black, Prince Hall, who was also the founder of Prince Hall Freemasonry, had given many petitions which the administration failed to recognize. This, however, did not discourage the blacks and many other free slaves from partaking in the American Revolution. One of the first free black who fought on behalf of the Americans and to be killed at the Boston Massacre was Crispus Attucks. Prince Hall and 5,000 other blacks fought with the Americans in their war for freedom against the British in the Continental Army at the battles of Concord, Lexington, and Bunker Hill. They fought to impress their white neighbors and for their own freedom. More than 25,000 slaves fled to join and fight with the British, and many escaped in the chaos of the war. George Washington, however, did not employ any blacks once he took command in 1775. Once the war was over, the Americans demanded back what was theirs. However, the British aided 4,000 African Americans to leave the country and select to go to Britain, Jamaica, and Nova Scotia instead of going back to slavery. It took more than 20 years after the American Revolution for the blacks to fight their own freedom. Many socialists raised their voices to help the slaves gain their freedom. Moravians and Quakers were two such people who convinced the slaveholders to release the enslaved families. Religion. the blacks started going to churches by the 1800s. The northern blacks had set up many churches, and in the south, they sat in the upper gallery. The main progress in the community was the establishment of a black church. In fact, it was the first communal institute to be set up. The black church was manifestation of togetherness and unique African American devoutness in response to discernment. The church was also a center for all the blacks in the neighborhood who could celebrate their African traditions without the interruption of white critics. The church was also the place where there was education. As the church was a segment of the society and sought to educate the people, they also helped in the freeing of the blacks who were still kept in captivity. Since the church was part of the community and wanted to provide education, they educated the freed and enslaved blacks. Looking for independence, certain blacks like Bishop Richard Allen started distinct black denominations. The antebellum period. In 1780, Pennsylvania became the first to take steps towards the abolishment of slavery. Many events took place, and one such event was Haitian Revolution, which was a revolt so strong that it led to a free state of Haiti. Slave owners ran to the United States to save their lives from the massacre that happened in the South. With the creation of cotton gin in 1790, cotton could be cultivated deep in the South, where the weather was suitable and the ground was fertile. The Industrial Revolution in England and Europe created large requirements for cotton and economical clothes, which lead to a heavy demand for slaves to work in the cotton plantations. Within years, the demand rose to 70%, and slaves were devastatingly focused in working on the plantations in the South and slowly moved west. And once the old field of cotton became infertile, they purchased new fields. On the request of President Thomas Jefferson, international slave trade was abolished by the Congress in 1807. The American blacks rejoiced the moment of their victory against the slavery and prohibition on demand for slaves. The Upper South was undergoing changes in their ways of agriculture.
Okay, family, we're going to stop there. I don't think I turned this off. Can you hear me? Okay, somebody turned it off. We're going to stop there so we can get a couple of songs in. I want to send you home on a good note. I know that can be kind of depressing, but we need to know our history. Our children need to know our history. And so every so often, we're going to see something like this just to bring us back to earth. You know, back to reality, so we don't, you know, start thinking all this kumbaya stuff that's going on here, you know, negates what we really, our real struggles are. So I'm going to bring up who's closing out. I thank you for your time and attention. It's been my honor and my pleasure to stand before you today. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Giving thanks unto the Most High for our song, for bringing us that message, that word. Thanking them for your participation as well on the Holy Shabbat Day. Beautiful Shabbat Day. See what song we're going to sing. Let's sing about unity. Unity. And if you notice, for this song, we stopped singing the Hebrew part, zera, because that word actually means seed. All right, the word for arm is zaroa. Zaroa. So trying to figure out the way to, you know, put it in there, you know, melodically. That's the word. Instead of saying Zera, Ben Zera, so we got to try to figure out Zeroa with Zeroa, all right? So that's why we stopped singing it that way, because we're not singing seed and seed, all right?
Say it a little bit faster.
And also, while I have you up, because I'm the person that I don't, if I make a mistake, I'm going to tell you I made a mistake, all right? Because that's part of growth and development, correct? So I was speaking to Yaya, Mori Yaya, Bobo Bakasha. Mori, that's how I was telling him that I made a mistake about the word Shimshon. So please, very quickly. And he was talking to me, he was explaining to me the correct pronunciation, and I respect his wisdom, and I apologize to you. Maury, give him the correct.
Okay, so Shimshon, the root word is Shemesh, which means sun. So basically, it's a poetic way to say sunny or bright like the sun. Real simple.
I apologize. Hebrew experts, appreciate that. That's growth and development. And so, again, I was saying about Zera with Zera. Again, going back to your car, we're going to have an afternoon where we can sit down and go over these songs and kind of, just sing and try to get these words in and try to get Saroa with Saroa in there, because it's a little hard because it's actually a 3-syllable word now instead of a 2-syllable word, right? Saroa. I have it in my mind, but I just have to, you have to catch it. You have to be able to catch it. So instead of Zera with Zera, you got to go Saroa with Saroa. You got to be able to catch it. So it's got to, it's got to be in tune. So maybe I'll try it today if I can catch it. All right?
Try it out.
Fingers spread, and it's with how to get the strength to see Lord and make a bed, take and on and that's the only way to stand. You love it to make us free. I am under a chain that has, a chain that we can live. When there's a sorrow, live and sing. We better than that's the only way to stand. You love it, will make us free. I am togetherness, to make us strong. Unity shall be our song, our strength lies in the will to be. I am under God. On and that's the only On and on. On and on, hand in hand. That's the only way to Hallelujah. Hallelujah. On page 11, we find even our prayer, our final prayer of the Shabbat day. Let us even recite these words together, hoping and praying that the Most High will even accept these words. Sacrifices and meal offerings are not found in our hands. Father of mercy, yet thy law standeth firm. Accept the words of our lips and the murmurs of our hearts. Receive our prayers in mercy and in favor. Grant us joy and gladness. Comfort thy people. Your holy answer thee in the day of trouble. The name of the power of Israel set thee up on high. Throw us not away, Yah, with the wicked, for our delight is in thy word. Let thy word heal us and cause us to prosper. Cause thy wisdom to blanket Israel. Let the visions of the righteous be our lot. Yea, even the dreams of thy redeemed, our good fortune. Draw us with cords of love, and let our voice be true. Into thy hand I commit my spirit. All praise unto thee, O Yah. We have thought of thy loving kindness. We rejoice in the house of Yah. Come behold the works of Yah and rejoice in the same. For he has rescued his people Israel. He has called forth the dispersed of Yahweh. He causes righteousness to stand where calamity was. For such is our power forever and ever. He will be our God henceforth eternally. Sing his praises aloud. Hallelujah. Shema. Shema Israel. everyone can join me about the shout. Psalm 65. Hallelujah. 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 Psalm 65. Praise waited for thee, O Yah, in Zion, and unto thee the vow is performed. O thou that hearest prayer, unto thee doth all flesh come. The tale of iniquities is too heavy for me. As for our transgressions, thou wilt pardon them. Happy is the man whom thou choosest and bringest near, that he may dwell in thy courts. May we be satisfied with the goodness of thine house, the holy place of thy temple. With wondrous works dost thou answer us in righteousness, O power of our salvation, thou the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and of the far distant seas, who by thy strength settest fast the mountains, who art girded about with might, who stood the roaring of the seas, the roaring of their waves, and the tumult of the peoples, so that they that dwell in the uttermost part stand in awe of thy signs. Thou makest the outgoings of the morning and evening to rejoice. Thou hast remembered the earth and watered her, greatly enriching her with the river of Yah that is full of water. Thou preparest them corn, but so preparest thou her, watering her ridges abundantly, settling down the furrows thereof. Thou makest us soft with showers, thou blessest the growth thereof. Thou crownest the year with thy goodness, and thy paths drop fatness. The pastures of the wilderness do drop, and the hills are girded with joy. The meadows are clothed with flocks, the valleys also are covered with corn. They shout for joy, yea, they sing. Hallelujah. We give thanks unto thee, O Most High, at the close of another holy Shabbat day. And we thank you, O Heavenly Father, that thou hast allowed us to be here in peace, O great King. You allowed us to worship your name in peace, O great King. That no tragedies or calamities, O Yah, entered into this building, O great King. We say, Toda Rabbah, Yehovah Eloheinu. We thank you, O Yah, even from the start of the day, the Shabbat day, that thou hast been with us, O Yah, that has protected us from all danger and harm, seen and unseen. O Yah Eloheinu, we pray for those that could not come out for whatever reason. And may, O Heavenly Father, when we take our journeys home, that you would even allow us to have a safe journey back home, O great King. That we will find our houses, O Yah, the same way we left them, O great King, in perfect peace and in perfect order. O Yah, even our loved ones that we left home, O Yah, may we find them in perfect peace, O great King. And may we, O Heavenly Father, have a blessed week, O Yah Eloheinu. And we thank you, O Yah, even once again for being with our children, for being with the parents, O Yah, that they had a safe school year, O great King. We pray, O Yah, for a safe summer, O great King. And for many of our graduates, O Yah, that are graduating this week, O Yah, we thank you, O Yah, even for allowing them to even succeed, O great King. And we pray that you would even allow them to be more successful in life, O Yah, to move on, O Yah, to even higher institutions of learning, O great King. O Yah, we thank you even for all of your mercies, O great King. We thank you, O Yah, for the blessings that thou hast bestowed upon each and every one of us, O Yah. Remember the elders, O great King, we pray thee. Remember our fathers and our mothers, O Yah. Remember the sons and daughters, O great King. Remember the entire nation, O Yah, of Israel, whithersoever they may be, throughout the four corners of this earth. Remember the sick of the house of Israel, O Yah. Heal us, O Yah, from whatever sickness we don't know about, O great King. And help us, O Yah, to even understand, O Yah, that we live in a world, O Heavenly Father, that anything can happen, O Yah Eloheinu. O Yah, we thank you for all things and everything. Thank you for food, for clothing, for shelter. Thank you for the wisdom that you have even instilled within us, O Yah. And we thank you for the wisdom of our elders, O great King. May we, O Heavenly Father, be receptive, O Yah, to those things that they teach us, O Yah. That we would not, O Heavenly Father, turn our eyes away and turn our heads away. But that, Heavenly Father, we would even receive the instructions and the wisdom from that which our elders teach us, O great King. Oh Yah, we say Toda Rabbah Yehovah, that you chose us to be your people from among all the nations of the face of the earth, O Yah. Toda Rabba Yehovah, Baruch atah Yehovah Elohim, Ka'asher atah bakar banu mikol ha'amin, Yehovah Elohim. All praises unto thee, O Yah, from this time forth and forevermore. As we end this tefillah, this prayer, O Yah Eloheinu, may you, O Heavenly Father, even hear our last prayer of this day, O Yah, as we bless your name once again, O great King, to thank you for all that you have done. As we end this prayer by saying, Baruch Yehovah Baruch Baruch Yehovah Bezoharai, Baruch Yehovah Be'erev, Baruch Yehovah Balayla, Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tami, Yehovah Eloheinu B'vakusha, Lisloach lanu lekol devarim, ra'im, sha'asinu lefaneka Yom Yom, V'hiliot imanu kol halayla hazeh, Lama'an Shemcha Yehovah, Elohei Abraham, Yitzchak Yisrael, Elohei Aboteinu Eli, Lishmoa B'Polina, Im Tereseotka, Lama'an Shemcha Yehovah. And O Yah, as we stand here, O great King, we pray even for our Iman Naomi this day, O great King. As she, O Heavenly Father, is mourning the loss of her eldest son, Abdel ben Benjamin. We pray that you even strengthen her, O great King. Be with her other son, Mikael, O great King. Continue to be with those, O Yah, just like unto her, who are mourning the loss of a loved one, O great King. Give them that strength, O Yah, we pray thee. Give them, O Heavenly Father, the comfort that they need, O Yah. And give them, O Heavenly Father, most of all, the acceptance, O Yah, that all things are done according to your will. And as we always say, Yehovah hu notain, or Yehovah hu lo chweach, where Baruch Hashem shel Yehovah. Yehovah giveth, Yehovah taketh away, and blessed be your name forever and ever. Hallelujah! 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 Y'all kind! Y'all kind! Y'all kind! Selah. O Shema Yisrael, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, O Shema Yisrael, Yahovah Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Yahovah Yisrael. O Baruch Shemeinu, Baruch Ole Olam, Ole Olam, Ole Olam, O Baruch Shemeinu, Baruch Ole Olam, Hallelujah. Look now unto the Holy One of Israel, asking that he would bestow upon us his great blessing, the very same blessing that was spoken or read in the portion for today of Seder Naso. And we hope and pray that our actions that do not even negate even these blessings from being upon us, but that we will live righteous lives before Yah, so that these blessings can even be in our lives and our children's lives all the days of our life. Blessed be the name of the Holy One of Israel, for even thinking of us as a people to even have these words on record. Yivarek ka Yehovah wa yishmarecha. Ya'ir Yehovah panayo alecha vechunecha. Yisa Yehovah panayo alecha ve'yasim lecha shalom. Yehovah will bless you and keep you. Yehovah will cause his face to shine upon you, and he will be gracious unto you. Jehovah will lift up his countenance upon you, and he will give you peace. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. know it's home to my Hallelujah! 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 All time! All time! All time! Say, God who got doing, and we say what? Just be seated for a few more minutes. We can try to get out of here as expeditiously as we can. We're going to circulate amongst